Well, I thought that these two suttas would be appropriate for Christmas Eve. Christmas is a holiday for kids anyway. Um, and the first sutta is the Buddha teaching his 7-year-old son, which that in itself is remarkable when you consider what took place in those 7 years. Um, the Buddha left his family's home, his father's palace, when he was 29 years old, in tears. He didn't want to leave, but he had to leave. He was compelled to leave and understand who he was in relation to the world. But just a few days before he left, his first and only child was born. But yet he knew he had to leave. And he spent 6 years, 6 arduous years, we know his story, developing his own understanding and becoming awakened, becoming a fully mature human being. And now, very quickly after his awakening, his son is with him again. And he's teaching his 7-year-old son the Dhamma. And then the next sutta, which is actually a poem from the Therigatha. The Therigatha is much like the Dhammapada, it's a collection of shorter, in this case, poems in a section of the Sutta Pitaka called the Khandaka Nikaya, which is a set of 15 books of just small and difficult to classify other teachings. Like I said, the Dhammapada is part of that. The Udana, we'll be talking about that next week. So this is the Rahulavada Sutta. Rahula, the Buddha's son at Mango Stone is where they were. The Buddha was sitting with his son Rahula, who was 7 at the time. The Buddha asked Rahula if he saw the few drops of water left in the ladle the Buddha was holding. Rahula replied that he did. The Buddha tells Rahula, that is how little understanding one has who tells deliberate lies. So apparently the Buddha overheard Rahula telling a little lie earlier, and rather than scold him or make him go to bed without dinner or stand in a corner or spank him or anything else, he teaches him the Dhamma. The Buddha then tosses away the few drops of water and tells Rahula, a person who feels no shame in telling deliberate lies has tossed away their mindfulness. Some would say this is a little bit harsh for a 7-year-old son, but the Buddha knows he can understand this. He has the wherewithal within him to understand what his father's telling him. The Buddha then turns the ladle upside down and tells Rahula, a person who feels no shame in telling deliberate lies has turned their mindfulness upside down. The Buddha then shows Rahula the empty ladle and says, whoever feels no shame in telling a deliberate lie is as empty and hollow as this ladle. Anyone who feels no shame in telling deliberate lies is capable of any wrongdoing. We certainly see that today, don't we? Train yourself, Rahula. I will not tell a deliberate lie for any reason, even jokingly. The Buddha asked Rahula if he knows what a mirror is for, and Rahula replies, for reflection, sir. The Buddha responds, in the same way, your thoughts, words, and deeds must be done with constant reflection. That's the middle section, or the virtuous section of the Eightfold Path that provides that guidance, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Again, the Buddha doesn't just tell us to act a certain way, or that we should be a certain way, that we should be morally pure in any kind of religious way. He says we should act in a certain way because it's what a mature, awakened human being does who is free of ignorance. And that's characterized by right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And those are very clear what they are. There's nothing ambiguous. There's nothing that we have to guess. Am I acting appropriately? We know because it's in the teachings. Reflect in this manner, Rahula. Is this thought, word, or deed skillful? Or is there any eye making in it? We don't all do that. We do that all the time, don't we? Now. In fact, I would say all of us, and I'll include Liz and Grace in on this because you've been here enough, and you reflect on what you're saying more than you used to. It's important to you. You don't just say things and expect people to just buy them, like politicians today. Don't start there. The Buddha's Dhamma gives us the concentration and the framework for refined mindfulness to actually do this simple process of watch what's coming out of our mouth, what we're thinking about, what our actions are, and in a dispassionate, non-clinging way. In other words, we can see it without me being in it. Or if we're stuck in that clinging view, we recognize it and quickly tell ourselves, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not what I am. Reflect in this manner, Rahula, is this thought, word, and deed skillful? Will it lead to harm for myself or others, or will it lead to release? And that's the moment that we, in our ongoing life, each moment holds that potential. In every thought, word, and deed, in every moment that occurs, in the arising and the passing away of time in our own life, that is the opportunity in this moment. The Dhamma cannot be developed in the past, and it can't be developed in the future. It can only be developed and experienced right now. That's why concentration is the meditation method that the Buddha taught, to bring our minds into our body where we can actually experience the Dhamma. Will this thought, word, or deed bring more suffering for myself or others, or will it have a peaceful result? If upon reflection, your thoughts, words, and deeds will have peaceful results, then is it fit for you and fit for a person that, sorry about that, mangled that up. If upon reflection, your thoughts, words, and deeds will have peaceful results, then this is fit for you and fit for a person developing understanding. Rahula, all those who purify their minds through continual reflection, refine mindfulness, will do so in just this way. Rahula, you should train yourself in just this way through continual mindfulness of your thoughts, words, and deeds. It's the end of the sutta. Continual mindfulness of thoughts, words, and deeds. He's telling his young son, 7 years old, to not be so frivolous about your thoughts. Even at 7 years old, you can start regaining control of your mind by simply paying attention to what's occurring within you, and a mind that is well settled in jhana. Again, that's the reason why the Buddha taught a meditation method that develops concentration and nothing else, for this reason, so that it can bring our minds into the present moment. And in this present moment, I now have the ability to incorporate the Dhamma and awaken. So Rahula took this to heart. Let me just get to the next section. And when he was old enough, which was probably about 7 years later, he was allowed to go forth, meaning he was able to leave his home and in much the same way as the Buddha did, and join the Buddha's sangha. And so he was given an initial going forth, meaning he was taken into the sangha. A formal way would say as a novice. The Buddha never used those kind of terms. That's all part of a modern hierarchy. But he was brought into the original sangha around 14 or 15, and a few years later he was given the complete going forth, meaning there's no big deal about it. He was simply accepted into the sangha. He took refuge in his father, the Buddha, in his father's Dhamma, and in that original sangha. And so Rahula started practicing the Dhamma wholeheartedly, and at some point later, he reached the culmination. He awakened. And this is what he recounted from that. This is called, the name of the chapter is Rahula, the Buddha's Son, Unbound. Rahula's words from 2,600 years ago. Accomplished in the world and the Dhamma, I am Rahula, the fortunate. I am the son of the Buddha. I see the Dhamma. My effluence have ended. Effluence are greed, aversion, and deluded thinking. My effluence have ended. Free of ignorance, no further becoming. Those are just a quick explanation. What the Rahula is referring to, it has to do with dependent origination and the meaning of becoming. In the Buddha's Dhamma, again, it comes back right to this moment. This moment holds the potential to either become further ignorant by ignoring the Four Noble Truths, or to continue to incline our minds towards awakening by developing the Dhamma. There is no further becoming. I am now worthy of offerings. I know the three marks. That's what we've been studying all summer, the 3 marks and fall. I know the 3 marks, clearly seeing the deathless, Those blinded by the veil of craving, clinging to Mara, they are like a fish in a net. Another powerful line, isn't it? Those blinded by the veil of craving, clinging to Mara, clinging to Mara is metaphor for just clinging to ignorant views. They are like a fish in a net. Abandoning sensual distractions rooted in ignorance. The flames of craving behind me. I am cool and unbound. Cool and unbound. That's the end of that. It's the end of those two suttas. Merry Christmas. We can go home now. So two simple and straightforward suttas. And I just love the way it ends. I am now cool and unbound.
It was all that easy.
Well, again, there's no knowing where Rahula is in his life. I kind of guess it's probably in his mid to early 30s. So he's probably spent 20 years doing this, but it's worth it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was 40 years or 50 years.
Very
What's the
quickly,
difference?
The Buddha was telling him at 7,
Mm.
you know, this is your chance to get control of your conditioned
Yeah.
mind. So he had 20 years to undo the 7 years.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of other things that are there in that initial setting too, with the 7-year-old Rahula. The Buddha wasn't, at least as far, well, some people would say he was clairvoyant, but he never said so. I don't think he was. So he didn't know if the cow's going to trample his son in the next moment. And so it was time. Rahula was there in front of him. He caught him in a lie. It's now the time to teach us the Dhamma. What else could be more important to a 7-year-old? And it got him headed in the right direction. And of course, he was fortunate to have that original sangha that supported him along the way. But the point is, at some point, he awakened too, just like so many others did during the Buddha's lifetime, simply listening to the pure Dhamma. And we're doing it here. We're all developing the Dhamma in much the same fashion as they did 2,600 years ago. Why? Because we're practicing it the same way they did. And this is what can be expected. Another reason why these two suttas or anything that's featuring Rahula is the personal nature. It humanizes the Buddha even further for me, and I think for you. This is a guy with kids, or at least one kid. He's not out there trying to save the whole world. He's not traveling around in fancy chariots or anything, going from one town to the next. He's rooted in the world. He has time for a 7-year-old son, and he has time to guide him along the way, along with everyone else. But he did it in the most efficient way. He presented a Dhamma, and he let people develop it. And that's just what we're doing here today.
There's one line in the second sutta there that I am now worthy of offerings, I think it says.
Yeah.
What's he talking about?
He's now worthy. It was a tradition during the Buddha's time, and I would say it's still here today. You offer me things because you feel like what I'm doing is valuable. That's not lost on me at all. It's remarkable to me. When someone sends me a donation and happen to read a few things online, that's one of the most poignant and significant things to me. Not because they're giving me money, because it tells me things, this is making a difference. And because of that, I am worthy of offerings, because I'm doing something that's worthwhile. That's what Rahula is saying. I've now developed the Dhamma. I can contribute something rare and completely useful in the world. He's worthy of offerings. And that's how his father would teach others. You better not accept offerings until you're worthy of it, because in effect you're stealing. We're not playing games on people. Go out and teach the pure Dhamma. And if people give you a bowl of rice, take it. You're worthy of offering. But does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's qualified. And the Buddha didn't make, to some people that might sound arrogant that you've achieved something. Well, there's no such thing as a self. That's just nonsense. The Buddha encourages us all the time to develop the Dhamma and recognize it ourselves, that we're doing something. We're doing something that I think is the most important thing any human being could do, and the Buddha did too. So it should be recognized and acknowledged, and for someone like Rahula, receive offering. What else do you have to say for yourself?
Oh. What a fortunate boy Rahula was, having a dad like that.
Yeah.
I think that's about all, really. Thank you, John.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, John. Thank you for doing this. It reminds me of the simplicity, that anything that respects a child enough to understand that they have the ability to understand these concepts is as much a lesson to an adult of the simplicity
Yeah.
of the concepts. And children do have a great ability to understand things they don't understand or things they can't see. So it really is very touching and simple in that regard too. It also made me think about what also might sound, like eye making, but I feel like I have an understanding that you know when you awakened, like he had a direct experience. He knows that, you can rattle off all the words, things have been unlearned and the truth is there. And so you will speak from a different point of view that maybe sounds a little bit like eye making, but he knows the truth of where he's arrived, I guess, what he's awakened to. There's a confidence there. And then, like a lot of the suttas, you have to hold yourself accountable. If you commit to living by the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, you have to hold yourself accountable for when you're not exactly doing that. And be honest about it, and honest with yourself through that self-reflection, the careful choosing of words in thought, word, and deed. And then again, it's all up to each of us to do it. It can be done by us. It's nothing so wild. I also thought the word cool meant, reflects the calming of the flames.
That's right.
And, Nirvana means the extinguishing of the flames. So I feel like I understood it, and it was a lovely sutta and poem. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I was wondering if anyone was going to pick up on that, what that really meant. Its fires of passion have been cooled. They're still. What a great way of saying it. And you think about the other metaphor that we have out there for suffering is hell. It's hot.
Yeah.
We tend to go there. And cool and unbound. It's not a bad deal.
Right.
Liz, I'm glad you joined us tonight. How are you? What do you think of tonight's talk?
I really liked what you said about how what you were speaking about is like grounding. And I feel like it could easily be construed into like otherworldly being or someone of higher power in a sense, and to know that just had a son and these are just ways of life that have no don't have any like sort of higher power in a sense. They just are what they are, and they live in the world just as we all do, human and going through it. So I really enjoyed that.
Wow, thank you. You picked that up really nicely, because that's a central theme of the entire Buddha's Dhamma. This is just what's occurring. Is get your mind out of speculative beliefs and going someplace else, because this is where our human life exists. So, thank you. Enjoy your time in Philly too. Hello, Tim.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here this evening.
Yeah.
I think I have a better place to be.
Yeah.
As a parent, the sutta means a lot to me, because the first one, especially because the Buddha was very compassionate in that regards, because a lot of parents let things go, kids will be kids, they'll get it, or just quickly punish. But the lessons was well understood by Rahula, and he moved onwards towards his path. And so interestingly, and what I get out of it and following the Dhamma is today, quickly, when we had our Christmas Eve event I've got nephews and nieces between the ages, 8th grade and sophomore in high school. And Uncle Tim had a basket and said, foams.
Oh,
Good
And
for
I
you.
had Parcheesi. And at first, there was the grumblings and and I said, no, give it a chance, guys. And I teamed everybody up, and after about 20 minutes, I just walked away, and there they were. And it was simpler. And it brought joy to me, because when I see this, not just children, but even adults with complications with their phones and technology and everything, and the suffer, it's hurtful. I don't think that's the wrong word, but this makes it more simple. The Buddha's suttas simplifies these things,
Yep.
and it's direct. And the second sutta, the metaphor of the fish in the net, entanglement, is powerful.
Yeah.
Entangled.
Really, really powerful for me. I think I have a whole class just talking about that metaphor, and so very, very appropriate sutta for this evening. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, glad you're here. Grace, glad you're here. What'd you think?
I really liked the last time. Because I'm guessing we've all felt that way before. You wake up, feel clear, and like your senses feel less abrasive almost, and feel like see and hear and feel clearer.
Yeah.
And that's a really real feeling. And then the opposite of that is also just real and almost necessary. Feed into each other, feeling bound and hot and you're in your own hell is necessary for feeling full.
Thank you. That last line is the whole point of the Buddha's Dhamma, is getting to that point where you're released from your own ignorance, and so you're cool. Have a great time in Argentina and Brazil. Good evening, David.
I guess I'll take that one step further in really what Tim was saying. Right view allows you to be aware of that negative and that joyful, and it's just the pleasant and the unpleasant. And with right view, you're not judging either one. It's just arising, passing because of conditioned Dhamma. So I think that's the beauty of just right view, is it's not telling you that you're going to be happy all the time. It just means that you're going to be understanding of what dukkha is, and sensation is understanding. So I think sometimes people think that this is a pill that will make you happy. And it's a pill that will give you understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. It's awakened happiness comes from understanding, and it's not from achieving anything or acquiring anything. We understand the nature of discontent. Because we understand the nature of discontent or dukkha, we're content when discontent arises. It's the same thing as saying we learn to be at peace with less than peaceful mind states. Simply as having a human life. There's nothing personal. There's nothing for me to get hot under the collar with and cling to it. I can remain cool and unbound. Not a bad deal. Hello, Julia.
So John, one thing I liked that was when Rahula said that he was ready for offering. Because I can understand that being a teacher, there's a certain point when you feel like you're ready for offering. It's because you look at your student and you can see on their face understanding.
Yeah.
And so, and that's just a gift, that's the gift that that's the gift of, that's the offering that you want to experience, is that, you know, that expression of I got it, you know, I understand. And so I mean, this is like minor in comparison to liberation, you know, but he's now ready to give, by saying that he's ready for offerings, he's ready to give to others liberation, you know, to share that knowledge. And so it shows that he's ready, as his father. He's a Buddha, you know. He's become Buddha himself. So that, you know, first of all must have pleased his father greatly to see his son finally be liberated. I can't even imagine that.
The whole scene is real. The whole scene is something, man.
Yeah.
Really.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. Thank you, Julia. You got me confused though. You're always sitting over
I know. I usually sit there.
Shall I wrap this up? I'll wrap this up.
Wait a minute. Wrap it up.
You wrap it up now. It's your turn.
He who's last shall be first. Somewhere.
Different.
I thought that was a Christmas metaphor. We're gonna wrap it up.
Let's talk now. Anyhow, there's a lot in here. I'm just going to read a section of it because I like to refer back to the section for let's kind of, you know, go over it again because I think it's powerful and holds a good message here. Okay, so bear with me just for a moment. The Buddha asked Rahula if he knows what a mirror is for, and Rahula replies, "For reflection, sir." The Buddha responds, "In the same way, your thoughts, words, and deeds must be done with constant reflection. Reflect in this manner, Rahula. Is this thought, word, or deed skillful? Will it lead to harm for myself or others, or will it lead to release? Will this thought, word, or deed bring more suffering for myself or others, or will it have a peaceful result? If upon reflection your thoughts, words, and deeds will have peaceful results, then this is fit for you and fit for a person developing understanding. Rahula, all those who purify their minds through continual reflection, mindfulness, will do so in just this way. Rahula, you should train yourself in just this way through continual mindfulness of your thoughts, words, and deeds." That
Wow.
is a full-time job. You know, I mean, and it's awareness. It's not, and when I say full-time job, it's not like being aware sometimes and being conscious of what you're doing, you know. It's fully aware. Fully aware as we go through life, as life unfolds, moment by moment, but not even so moment by moment as we use that moment by moment in the present moment, you know. And you had mentioned this a little while ago, and you're actually, and I meant to say this to you before, it's not actually moment by moment, because moment by moment is a construct, okay? It's time, and as you know, that it's actually being. It's being, okay? And in being, there is no, because the next moment is the future, and the past moment is the past. So actually, it's being, okay? Would you agree with that, John, or should I be quiet for now?
No, I wouldn't necessarily put it that way, but I don't disagree with it.
Well, that's good.
What do you mean by construct?
Well, it's by, you know, like it's a man-made development of, you know, we've put it. Time is something that man has
Are you
constructed.
saying it's a perception?
It's a perception. No, it's actually not a perception. It's something that's it's a framework by which we live our life. So it's been developed by us. Yes.
The concept of time.
Yes.
You're saying.
And so yes, the concept of time. Yes,
How we
that's a
address
better way
it.
of putting it.
Or how we live in reference to time.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into physics here, but I know.
Well,
I
if
know
you
what
get
you
into
mean.
physics,
I know
I'm
what
out of
you
here
mean.
because I'm no physics major. But that's the way I understand it. The time is something that just as we awaken, you know, such things as time will not be something that we will be living by so much as we will be as being in this present, okay? Present, I should say. As will the Eightfold Path, again, a construct, as Dhamma had said, that it's it's developed for guidance. But once we become awakened, these constructs, okay, they fade away. But they're useful for us to understand them. But once we become conscious beyond that point of what they actually are, then they do fade away. So the Eightfold Path we need now is the framework to say, oh, right effort, right action. Yes, we need that. But like as we practice what I had just read there, what the Buddha had said to Rahula, if we practice that, then we will understand, like, again, I don't know if intuitively is the best word, but I'll use it anyhow, and you correct me.
Experientially.
Experientially, okay. Then it'll be something that, like, it's part of our being, part of our understanding, how to act in this as a being. Okay, that's the way I see it. So.
Yeah.
It's full-time
Thank
job
you.
awareness.
The-
Awareness all the time.
Well, yeah, the full-time job of awareness is simply the gentle, refined mindfulness that's developed through the Dhamma. In other words, it's not something harsh. It's not something we have to be doing. I got to be focused on, that's something that some teachers teach. You got to be in the present moment. There's no such thing as a present moment that's useful for a human being. Life does unfold moment by moment. It's just that those are just words that describe the unfolding of life. Alvin Toffler said in a book, Future Shock, in 1984, I think, is time is a currency of exchange that makes all things possible, including awakening. So we can relate to time in a personal way, or we can just understand we're in the midst of it. What's most important in the midst of time is to recognize ignorance and abandon it and develop wisdom through the Eightfold Path. And we're given that simple guidance. This is true mindfulness. This is what we should be mindful of. The Buddha teaches us. It's not to be mindful of everything that is occurring, or from washing dishes to be mindful of washing dishes. We should. But as a Dhamma practitioner, we hold in mind the Eightfold Path. That's mindfulness. There's nothing unattainable, mystical, unknowable about refined mindfulness. There is in general mindfulness because there's no focus to it. There is in general vipassana because there's no focus there. It's just let's gain insight. It's what we're doing in this moment that is key to awakening. And how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to address the issues of dukkha that every human being is going to face if they're having a human life? Best through the Eightfold Path, because then we won't be sticking that second arrow in. The practicality of this, of bringing yourself back to what's occurring and understanding that what you're doing can be either cause for pleasure or cause for pain, is so. The Buddha tells Rahula, think about it. Is what you're doing or what you're thinking, is it going to bring pain or is it going to bring satisfaction? I'm going to use the word pleasure because that has other connotations. But when we ask ourselves that in each moment, it gives us guidance. And the reason, a practical explanation is I got a call earlier today from a guy who's struggling to maintain he's addicted to drugs and alcohol. He's been clean for a while. It's Christmas Eve. This is when people that are struggling, they think they deserve to drink, or at least they start struggling with it. And he called me. He says, I know I'm going to drink tonight. I'm going to lose it all. I said, well, wait a minute. I won't say what his name was. I said, think it through. I said, what was he saying? I think he said he was going to use cocaine or something. Cocaine and alcohol. I said, have you ever used cocaine and alcohol successfully? Or did it always bring you pain? And he said, that's the answer I needed, because it always brought him pain. But the reason why that's significant, up until he was reminded of that, he's romanticizing the cocaine and the drink. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be the life of the party. It's going to be a wonderful Christmas Eve. Because that's an aspect of a drug addict ignoring their own ignorance of what's really occurring. He knew what it was. He just needed to be reminded of it. I hope he's okay. But and we do that each and every moment. Remind ourselves, is this really for my benefit and the benefit of all human beings or not?
And that's the same teaching the Buddha just gave Rahula.
Exactly the same thing.
You could have said that same set of words to this person.
Yeah.
And it would have been exactly the same thing.
There, you heard me say this maybe a few times. Krishnamurti, it's anybody, not, I bet you Grace and Liz don't know who Krishnamurti is. Does everybody else know Jiddu Krishnamurti? I won't get into his whole story, but he was someone who was recognized as an awakened human being in our lifetime. I think he died in 1991. And some people said he was a reincarnation of the Buddha. He himself said that. Madame Blavatsky in the Theosophical Society tried to set this guy up. But he was a brilliant man. He didn't incorporate the Four Noble Truths, and that which was missing. He didn't understand jhana meditation, but he said the same thing at almost every talk he ever gave. Look at the life you're living. That's what the Buddha asked us to do, but he also gives us the framework to look through and compare it to. Look at the life we're living, and that's what we're doing in each and every moment. Again, going back to why the Buddha taught jhana meditation and nothing else, because it takes a well-concentrated mind to be able to look at the life I'm living. I have to be in my body, don't I? I have to be in my life as it unfolds moment by moment for me to be there, to learn anything, to me to apply the Dhamma. I have to be in it. Two remarkable suttas. Again, I think it was perfect for Christmas Eve. Isn't it? Okay, well, we'll finish as we almost always do, or always do, with metta. So again, find your relaxed meditative posture. Gently close your eyes, gently close your mouth. And take a moment to become mindful of your in-breath and your out-breath. And these are the Buddha's words on metta from the Karaniya Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. Radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Thank you all for a wonderful class tonight. Merry Christmas. Peace.
Thank you, John. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
Thank you.
Worthy of offerings.
Interesting fact.